Teichi and Rin are your average students going on about their young lives and attending classes in modern-day Tokyo. Things go on normally for the two until one morning when they get summoned into another world where mages and sorcerers were a thing. It's a beautiful morning in Tokyo, Japan. Rin rushes to join her friend Teichi on their daily commute to their academy. As they walk and talk about their athletic abilities, something out of the ordinary happens. In another world, a sorcerer, accompanied by her personal guard, finishes drawing her magic summoning circle. An assassin sent to murder her stabs her guard but then fails to stab her. Just then, the summoning circle is activated and travels the dimensions of time-space and appears under Teichi and Rin. Before they could understand what was up, they got transported into another world. Teichi wakes up in the meadows and finds Rin still passed out. He wakes her up and walks around the shrubs with her searching for civilization. On the way, Teichi wonders whether or not they're still in the real world. However, Rin tells him to quench any superstitious thoughts about them being in another world. During their discussion, a monster attacks them. Teichi becomes the bait and buys enough time for Rin to escape, while he keeps the obsidian horse monster at bay. He picks up a rock and throws it at the horse. This seemed to do nothing to it. Teichi makes the horse face only him. This works as the horse charges toward Teichi with murderous intent. Inches away from meeting his end, Teichi gets saved by a team of 3 mages who take down the horse. Now that the trouble is over, the 3 introduce themselves as Majilla, Riquelta, and Barada. The trio harvests some meat from the horse and cooks it for dinner. Teichi watches the magic powers the 3 warriors displayed and figures out they must be in another world. That night, Riquelta asks Rin and Teichi about their origins and where they came from. Teichi and Rin refuse to give them any information, so they change the subject. Barada tells them about the increase in monster activity around the vicinity earlier and warns them about traveling unarmed. He also mentions a town named Aspire and mentions that their adventurers are from the town's guild. After dinner, Teichi finds Rin sitting alone and asks her why she's been annoyed at him for a while. Rin tells him she's annoyed because he ran into danger to protect her. Apparently, she didn't think it was brave of him to do such a thing. Teichi apologizes and promises to always fight with her next time. The next day, Barada and his team take Rin and Teichi to the town of Aspire and show them the Adventurers Guild so they could get registered there. Before parting ways, Barada gives them some silver coins to buy proper clothing and equipment for their quests. Rin and Teichi thank them and get to the guild. There, they talk to the attendant and ask her how they could become adventurers. The attendant makes them sign a contract first before engaging in a magic aptitude test. Apparently, only those with magic can be accepted to be adventurers. Rin goes first to test her magic. The attendant finds something very strange with Rin's magic. She tells Teichi to do his own thing. When he does, he breaks the magic tester. The attendant rushes over to find the guild master. Soon, Gerard the guild master and his right-hand woman Muller get down to tell Rin and Teichi how special they are. To become adventurers, they would have to meet with someone special. That evening, Muller takes Rin and Teichi to visit Lemia in her own home to discuss their magic abilities. On getting there, Lemia tests their magic strength and capacity, and finds out both teens have really high magic powers and strengths, with Teichi's own reaching as high as 120. Lemia tells them they have to become her apprentices if they wish to become adventurers. Elsewhere, some cloaked individuals catch wind of the new arrivals to their world and begin planning how to get Teichi and Rin on their side. After finding out the extreme potential they both have, Rin and Teichi realize they're truly strong. They agree to stick with Lemia and master their magic abilities if it means they become adventurers. Before dismissing them for the night, Lemia tells them they have the power to do whatever they wanted, even destroy nations if they wish to. As a result, they have to learn control and emotional maturity so they don't plunge the world into oblivion. The next day, Lemia treats Rin and Teichi to a hearty breakfast. As the duo munches on the yummy food, Lemia and their escort Muller explain the concept of magic to the two of them. From the explanation, Rin finds out she's a mage who can use all 4 attributes of magic. However, Teichi finds out he isn't a mage at all. Instead, he's a sorcerer who'd summon the spirits of attributes and use them to carry out his will. Now that's pretty strong. To find his own attribute, however, he'll have to train strong and hard first. Up next, Lemia begins training Rin and Teichi. Teichi gets tired at one point, but a green spirit flies near his ears and encourages him to do better. Elsewhere, Muller, who's in charge of training Rin, teaches Rin her first spell. In a matter of minutes, Rin creates fire and even upgrades the spell to a blue one with a little bit of tweaking. Muller gets very surprised and wishes to learn more from Rin very soon. Later in the day, Rin meets up with Teichi, who's very tired from all the training. Teichi closes his eyes and the spirit gives him some instructions on how to actualize his magic abilities. In seconds, Teichi's hands glow white and his magic abilities manifest. Rin calls him back to reality and they get back to Lemia's house to eat dinner. Teichi eats his food like an animal and embarrasses Rin. She apologizes to the dude and gets praised by both senior ladies for learning a spell in just one day. Teichi wants to learn magic spells. However, Lemia tells him he has to learn to hone his magic abilities first before doing any spells. Later that night, while the two teens sleep, Muller and Lemia meet outside to discuss the abilities of Teichi and Rin. Lemia tells Muller they have to train those two as quickly as possible, say in like 3 weeks to a month. This is so the forces of evil won't be able to control them and their power. Some weeks later, Teichi faces a monster and takes it down with his magic control. Rin, on the other hand, faces a bunch of carnivorous bunnies. She uses all attributes in her to take down the bunnies. Teichi and Rin approach and compare their kills. Meanwhile, Lemia teases Muller for supporting Rin a little too much. To Muller's defense, Rin is pretty intelligent. They keep talking until an obsidian horse attacks the kids. Teichi and Rin take down the horse without any hassle and get to eat another nice dinner. However, this time, Lemia tells them they're done with training and would become adventurers starting the next day. She also tells them that she knows they were summoned to their world by a summoner sorcerer. Teichi and Rin are shocked and they ask her why she trained them instead of handing them over to the authorities. Lemia tells them she did so because that was the best thing to do at the time. That night after dinner, Teichi thanks Rin for being there for him when he needed her the most. Now they can earn their keep as they become fully fledged adventurers the next day. In the middle of the night, while checking his powers, Teichi hears the same voice he's been hearing for so long. This time, he confronts the voice and asks it to show itself. However, the voice just giggles and shimmers around his room before escaping outside. The next morning, Teichi traces the voice talking to him to the meadows not too far away from Lemia's house. He keeps confronting the voice, telling it to show itself. However, just as it's about to materialize, he wakes up to the real world. Turns out he was just having a nightmare. Teichi dresses up and joins Rin to get to the Adventurers Guild in Asbyre Town. There, they reunite with Barada and his team to become full-fledged adventurers of the guild. They begin taking missions as E-rank adventurers and earn little cash to keep themselves. One day in the inn they're staying at, Teichi and Rin receive an official summons to meet Gerard in the guild. They get to the guild and are given a work request to investigate a bar somewhere in the slums. Apparently, Gerard had received that goods from the city have been hijacked from traveling merchants and are being smuggled around through the slums. After checking around their missive, they find out the mission had already been unsuccessful twice already. This could only mean the mission was a dangerous one. They wonder whether or not they could get it done. Gerard promises to promote them if they complete the mission, so they get right to it. Rin and Teichi walk out of the guild. On their way back to the inn, they find some melonless fruits and rush to buy them. However, the shopkeeper calls the fruit at a very expensive price for them. They ask him why the fruit is now so expensive. The shopkeeper tells them there's been a shortage of goods and fruits in the town ever since the merchants' wagons have been attacked and hijacked by monsters. Rin and Teichi buy the fruit at the inflated price and leave the shop wondering if they're really cut out for such a dangerous task. That night, Rin and Teichi get to the said bar to get a drink. Teichi gets into some small talk with the bartender and then gets right down to business. He and Rin outrightly ask the bartender to sell some of their hoarded goods to them so they can partake in the black market trade. The bartender tells them to beat it, but Rin and Teichi show them their bank accounts. Seeing how much money they had, the men in the bar decide to attack and steal their cash. Sadly for them, the two kids beat them up. They immediately confess that they were paid by a man to hijack goods and take them to a part of town and nothing else. The bartender tells them it's pretty normal for them in the slums to sell hoarded goods. He pushes them out of his bar and rejects their money. As they walk the streets of the slums in the middle of the night, Teichi and Rin find out they're being followed. They decide to face their followers and get into a fight with them. A minute later, Teichi and Rin take down 2 of the 3 people following them. The last one throws a cloud of smoke and escapes with one of the knockdown attackers. Teichi and Rin take the last one remaining to the guild. The assassin wakes up in a dungeon tied to a chair. The next day, Mulder visits Teichi and Rin in their inn to congratulate them on their promotion to D rank. As they eat their snacks, Mulder gives them some updates about the matter at hand. She also invites them to form a party with her to fight against crime. Soon, Teichi, Rin, and Muller hit the road to search for the mage spearheading the attacks on the merchants. Muller takes the 2 teens to the mellowless farmlands to investigate the bastards attacking the fields. After the necessary introductions, the farmers take the mages around the mellowless fruit plantation. As they walk through the mellowless trees, Rin's staff senses something bigger lurking a few meters away from them. She, Muller, and Teichi immediately get into their battle stances and prepare to fight the orcs and ogres approaching them. As the monsters appear, Muller and Teichi take them down. That night, Muller tells them she suspects the orcs and ogres were set up by someone else. Muller advises they wait and see how their enemies would react before playing their next move. In the Mileless fields, a weird lady kills a bunch of animals and extracts some red magic from them. She keeps the red magic in a red orb and waits for the right time to use them in attacking the adventurers. The follower Teichi and Rin captured earlier on recalls how strong Teichi was during her encounter with him. She appreciates him for not killing her despite him having the power to do so. Gerard walks by her dungeon and asks her if she already decided what to do. The follower tells him she's already gotten her resolve. Rin and Teichi and Mulder patrol the Mellowless fields that morning. They find signs of a camp somewhere in the fields and scan the entire area for intruders. Rin's staff beeps, and they use it to track down 3 human thieves stealing some fruit. Teichi and the ladies immediately subdue the thieves and capture them. A few minutes later, the thieves are all tied up. Teichi and the ladies question the thieves but are unable to get any information from them. Once the thieves are put away, Teichi and the ladies get to meet the weirdest farmer there, Kasim. Teichi shakes him and notices how soft his hands are. Teichi suspects Kasim knows something about the orcs and ogres that attacked the fields earlier and questions him. Kasim confirms his suspicions and tells him he summoned the ogres and orcs to test their abilities. Teichi and the ladies cannot find any reason why he would do such a thing. Before any further meaning is given to Kasim's intent, his partner, Grammy, becomes visible. It's clear the battle lines are set as Kasim picks his opponent to be Teichi and leaves the ladies to Grammy. Grammy gets trigger-happy and uses about 50% of her strength in fighting the ladies. Muller uses fire magic on Grammy, but she counters it with wind spells. Rin decides to shock her attacker by using water and earth attributes to conjure spells against her. Teichi, on the other hand, faces the frost elemental, Kasim's summoned beast. Now this is one beast that cannot be defeated by physical attacks, so all of Teichi's attacks are futile. On Grammy's side, Rin and Muller both launch combinative attacks on Grammy. However, she sees through them and pummels the girls to the ground. Teichi keeps using physical attacks on the frost elemental, but doesn't get a hit. While fighting the elemental, Teichi asks Kasim what the endgame is. Kasim refuses to give him an answer. Instead, he picks out the red orb Grammy created in the field previously and infuses it with the frost elemental. This takes the frost elemental to the next level and creates what Kasim calls a red elemental. The beast gets more violent and bashes Teichi to the ground. After being defeated by Grammy once, the girls decide to level up. They up their magic spells and use it to slash Grammy in the chest this time. Grammy passes out and wakes up a few minutes later. Kasim shows the girls Teichi's state. Teichi wakes up all bashed up and tries to attack Kasim, but the red elemental keeps him down. Teichi passes out and gets into a trance. In this trance, the spirit who's been following him earlier reveals herself as the wind spirit Ariel. She offers to lend Teichi her powers for a short while so he can protect the ladies. Teichi accepts the powers and becomes invincible for a little time. He uses this incredible power surge to take out the red elemental and inflict heavy damage on Kasim and Grammy, who tried to bail. Luckily for the two, Teichi passes out from exhaustion before killing Kasim and Grammy, so they escape with their lives. Teichi wakes up a week later at Lemia's place. On seeing her, he wonders how and why he's there. Lemia takes him downstairs and explains things to him. After a big breakfast, Lemia tells Teichi he's been asleep in a coma for a week after depleting his entire magic power reserve for a short time. Rin and Muller had thought he passed out from exhaustion but soon got worried when he didn't wake up after 3 days, so they brought him to a place for safekeeping. Teichi thanks Lemia for keeping him safe and sound. Lemia asks him about the incident and Teichi tells her about the imbibed red orb and his pact with Ariel. Lemia gets very surprised that a spirit would be willing to share its power with someone like Teichi. Elsewhere, Kasim and Grammy meet with their boss to receive new assignments. He gives Grammy some new powers and tells her to keep serving as Kasim's pawn. He then dishes out the next mission for the 2 warriors and leaves with 2 other girls. Teichi gets to an inn in town and wonders why Lemia called him a summoner or shaman. He recalls the crash course she gave him on spirits and their relationship with shamans and summoners. Teichi figures out he really may be a cheap magician after all. The innkeeper, Almeida, approaches Teichi and welcomes him back to town. Teichi asks if she's seen the girls lately and she says no. Then he leaves the inn and gets to the streets. There, he finds 2 men assaulting a lady. Teichi saves the lady from harassment and chases the men away. The lady thanks Teichi for helping her out. However, Teichi tells her he knows she would have fought the guys. The lady giggles and reveals herself as the last assassin Teichi knocked out and put in the dungeon a few weeks ago. She calls her Anna, which is short for Anastasia. She says that her encounter with Teichi has made her rethink her life decisions. Now she's an adventurer just like Teichi. Since there was nothing to do, Teichi tags along with Anna to pursue her lead. Together, they infiltrate Grammy and Kasim's boss's building to investigate the case. By nightfall, Muller takes a walk with Rin. Rin drifts off and thinks about Teichi again and Muller calls her out of it. They still don't know he's awake, so Muller assures her he'll be fine. Just then, they see 2 merchants fighting over price inflation. An assassin attacks them right there and fights them. Muller and Rin defend themselves against the assassins until Grammy and the other assassins arrive. Grammy punches Muller in the stomach and takes her with her while the assassins keep Rin busy. Teichi and Anna, after investigating the boss, track his next plan to the vaults of Aspire. The duo takes their next steps very carefully as they realize how many monsters are lying there in wait. So it turns out Grammy's boss had infused several thousand goblins with red orbs he obtained from sacrificing people and were waiting just for the right time to be released and unleashed on the city. After getting Muller to her boss, Grammy gets back to Rin and shows her the exact location where Muller is. Rin gets there immediately and finds Muller tied in the middle of a circle with mages surrounding her. She takes out the leader and disables the subordinates. Then she uses earth magic to dispel the magic spell and freeze Muller. Just then, Kasim and his boss show their faces and laud Rin for seeing through their plan and saving her friend. Rin puts Muller down and prepares herself to fight Kasim and his boss. However, Kasim's boss tells her to hold her horses and listen to what he has to say. He tells her about the army of goblins waiting for his call to unleash hell on Aspire. He also tells Rin Teichi is in Aspire and is being stalled. So now the boss is eager to see how Rin and her team plan to save Aspire from the goblins that'll be released any moment from then. While they walk the streets of Aspire, Kasim reminds his boss of how cruel and wicked their plan is. Turns out they already placed goblins outside the city and also left some underground to ensure 90% of the populace is wiped out when the war is over. By his calculations, the outside Aspire should be at the town gate by morning. Somewhere in the underground passageways of Aspire, Teichi destroys a golem and protects Anna from harm. After defeating the golems, a door opens to them and they meet the terrible twins, Melo and Milo. In the meantime, Rin and Muller meet with Gerard to plan their next course of action. Gerard issues a missive to summon all the adventurers back to Aspire to help fight the goblins. Without Teichi present, Gerard seeks to use every person in his power to protect the city. As they discuss, Lemia arrives at the guild and offers to help them out in defeating the goblins. Back in the tunnels, Teichi and Anna find the terrible twins in a nest of crimson-packed goblins. That is, goblins that have been infused with red orbs. Teichi orders them to stop what they're doing to avoid a nationwide attack. However, the girls tell him they don't have to worry as long as they have an orb with them at all times. Following their little speech, the girls summon some goblins out of their eggs and send them toward Teichi. Teichi tunes down his magic enhancement a little bit to avoid destroying the room and takes out the goblins attacking him. Milo and Melo drop their orb and break it. This makes the goblins turn towards them. Teichi steps in and saves the girls before the goblins get to them and finds out there are thousands of these goblins in the underground parts of the city. Teichi saves them and employs the magic powers of the twins to help him bring down the goblins. As the adventurers gather in the guild, Gerard and the ladies draw out their battle plan. Lemia tells them to focus their magic powers on the orcs and ogres while they still can. Still, that isn't enough to completely wipe out the enemies. Rin comes up with a plan to create a crater with earth magic at the enemy front lines to trap them and then combine water, wind, and fire magic spells to create an explosion that'll reduce the enemy numbers on the front lines. The next day, Rin gets on the city walls and carries out her plans. Thankfully, things work out fine and she manages to reduce the enemy numbers greatly. Lemia lauds her for her efforts and opens the gates for the adventurers to take out the remaining enemies. The adventurers rush toward the enemies and take out a great number of them. Just then, crimson monsters arrive at the gates to attack the men. Lemia asks Rin and Muller to buy her a little more time to cast a huge spell. Rin and Muller do just that, and Lemia destroys the crimson beasts in one large sweep. Meanwhile, Teichi and Anna arrive at the front lines and offer their services to fight the remaining beasts of war. The big crimson guys arrive at the battlefield, but the ladies remain unfazed as they approach the biggest guy of them all and launch an all-out attack toward him. Rin runs out of magic strength and loses her balance. The monster approaches her to finish her off. However, Teichi gets there in the nick of time and saves her life. The battle still continues between the monsters and the soldiers of Aspire. After saving his friend's life, Teichi powers up his magic enhancement to a hopping 100% and uses this newfound magic cheat power to pummel the big ogre monster to the ground. The ladies are awed at his awesomeness as Teichi stands tall over the knocked-out ogre. His victory is short-lived though, as the ogre stands up and fights back. Not too far away from the battlefield, Kasim and his boss are there to spectate Teichi, display his magic abilities, and wait for something big to arrive. Gerard receives battle reports from his base camp and finds out Teichi is facing the stronger enemies alone. Hearing this, Anna, who's near Gerard, gets emotional over Teichi taking such a burden on himself. She thinks hard enough about things and decides she'll try her best to help from behind the front lines. She stands up with a tray to drop it and bumps into someone wearing a cloak. The person mutters a few words to her. Anna suddenly goes blank and keeps walking forward. In the meantime, the mages seem to be having the upper hand on the battlefield as they keep obliterating the enemies as they come. The twins, Milo and Melo, also use their earth magic to stop the influx of the monsters as Teichi finally ends the big ogre he's been fighting. With one down, he has only two to go, right? Well, something unexpected happens the moment Teichi defeats the big ogre. Suddenly, the ground splits open and the sleeping twin-head dragon beast awakens. Teichi instructs Lemia and the others to retreat and buy him enough time to defeat the dragon. Rin stays behind and stands to fight alongside Teichi. With the others gone, Teichi begs Rin to sit this fight out as he doesn't want to worry too much about her while fighting the dragon. Rin understands and takes a step back. Teichi powers up and rushes toward the twin-headed dragon. He launches his first few attacks, but none seem to land. As he lay on the ground wondering about his next move, Anna walks towards him completely hypnotized. Her head clears out and she returns back to normal. Unfortunately for both of them, it was already too late as the dragon was already cooking a ball of fire in its mouth and was ready to fire at Teichi. Anna sacrifices herself to save Teichi's life and gets burned by the fireball. In her final moments on Earth, she thanks Teichi for treating her like a normal human being and confesses her love to him before closing her eyes to the world forever. Teichi lets out a cry of sorrow as he just lost someone he swore to protect. In a fit of seething rage, Teichi summons Ariel and demands she grant him her powers. He gets into a trance and meets Ariel in a grassy meadow. Ariel apologizes for not being able to save Anna. She advises them to make their pact formal so Teichi can use her powers freely next time. Teichi finally understands and forms a pact with the wind spirit. Now he can freely use and control the powers as he wishes. Teichi acquires the power of the wind spirit and approaches the dragon calmly. The dragon commends him for his bravery and prepares a final attack on the youngster. Teichi counters the attack with a whirlwind spell and knocks the dragon over. The dragon succumbs to defeat and decides to explain things to him. He tells him about the individual who prepared this entire test for him and says he has to be strong or he wishes to protect his beloved. In a dark room, a woman's voice is heard telling her subordinates to prepare for their next move. A few days after the battle, Aspire gets back to normal. Teichi visits Anna's grave and pays his respects. He gets back to the inn after his visit and shows the ladies his new partner, Ariel. Apparently, Teichi can now summon Ariel to his palms whenever he feels like it. While they talk and tease each other, a messenger from the royal family arrives at the inn with a royal summons for Teichi and Rin. The messenger introduces herself as Alcina, a messenger from His Highness, King Gilmore of Aspire, who summons them to appear before the throne. Teichi and the ladies get into the carriage with Alcina and ride to the royal capital. On the way, she explains the reason for the summons. As we'll have it, the king is in a conflict with his brother, the Duke of the Nation. King Gilmore is a diplomatic person who chooses peace over unnecessary war. His brother, on the other hand, is the exact opposite and favors war over peace. King Gilmore fears the Duke may be planning a civil war against him to take the throne from him, so he needs all the help he can get to stop his brother and his army from taking over, and that's why he summoned the powerful mages, Teichi and the ladies. When they get to the nation Lemia and the kids get attacked by the Duke's assassin, thankfully, Teichi sees the attack coming and prevents anyone from getting hurt. After a little bit of chit-chat, they get to meet the king. Gilmore appears before his subjects and sits on his throne. He welcomes them to his kingdom and appreciates them for coming over. Lemia cuts to the chase and requests to have the room to themselves. She agrees to help him provided he meets the conditions set for the battle. Gilmore accepts the conditions and dismisses them. Before leaving, however, Lemia asks Gilmore one question. She asks if he was the one who summoned Teichi and Rin from their other world to this world of magic. The king sighs and says yes. Teichi confronts him for taking their peaceful lives away from them. The king apologizes dearly and says he had no choice. After their meeting with the king, Princess Charlotte pays Rin and Teichi a visit to apologize for summoning them. She tells them she's capable of manipulating space and time and that she tailored the spell to find someone who can learn magic and understand their language. She says she intended on summoning just Teichi alone, but the assassin sent to take her out made the spell last too long to allow Rin into the same world. Charlotte breaks into tears and apologizes for her actions and begs them to save her father's kingdom from his evil brother. Rin and Teichi agree to help her out with all their power and might. Lemia barges in on their conversation and calls Teichi outside. Up next, Teichi faces the supreme commander of the king's army, Sumela, in a battle to test his strength in front of everyone. Teichi is forced into a fight. He would rather not fight with Sumela hitting him with everything she's got. Teichi finally decides to get serious with her. He breaks her sword and defeats her in hand-to-hand combat. Sumela accepts defeat and asks Teichi to take her either as his wife or concubine. She doesn't mind. According to her, Teichi has all she's looking for in a man. Teichi refuses the proposal and ends the fight. That night, Teichi takes a break on the roof of the castle. He summons Ariel to chill out with him and enjoy the night sky. He also asks her if there was a way he could tune down his power a little bit so he doesn't hurt anybody. Ariel tells him she'll try finding something out. Teichi thanks her and heads over to Rin's room. He finds her in the bathroom almost naked and begs for her forgiveness as he never meant to intrude in her business. Elsewhere in the royal castle, a suspicious dude finds the princess offering her prayers to the goddess to protect Teichi and his lady friends. The dude asks the princess to take a break so her body can rest. Charlotte thanks him and leaves the prayer room. As she walks to the door, the dude stares at her with a smug look on his face. The next morning, Teichi meets with Rin in the royal garden watering the dead flowers and tells her they've been summoned to meet the royal family to discuss the war. In another part of the capital, the king's brother, Duke Dortashim, or Dort for short, and his subordinates, Marquise and Nilvin, also arrange a meeting to discuss the best methods to take over the kingdom. While Nilvin suggests they take the fight to the capital, Marquise suggests they wait a little while before rushing into things. Dort thinks about things and decides to follow Nilgin's plan. He gives Nilgin the go-ahead to carry out his own plan. In the meantime, Sumela and Bella present the king with an estimate of the enemy numbers. The king gives them the go-ahead to rally their army and prepare for the civil war. Lemia and the other ladies find out that Nilgen is bringing just 1,000 enemy soldiers to the front lines. They suspect he has other soldiers placed strategically around the capital. Sumela tells them their scouts have checked and didn't find any soldiers in the forest. Lemia and the others recount their battle strategy before calling it a day. That night, Teichi checks up on Rin one more time before they get into battle the next day. Rin asks if he could sleep beside her for the night as she couldn't bring herself to sleep. Teichi takes to the sofa to get some sleep. However, Rin tells him to come sit near her a little bit. Teichi apologizes for bringing her into that world with him. However, Rin tells him she chose to follow him to the world. Before laying her head on his shoulders, Rin wishes him a good day at war the following day. Teichi is about to react to the wish when he suddenly senses something or someone watching them. Nonetheless, he closes the balcony blinds and gets back to sleep. Elsewhere in the monster, Lemia informs Muller of her concern about Rin's feelings towards the war. Muller proposes she goes to say hi. However, she and Lemia feel someone watching them. Late in the night, the assassin Marquise sent to terminate Rin and Teichi sneaks into their room and stabs a dummy. Apparently, Teichi, Lemia, and the others saw him coming. They try to get some information from the assassin, but he jumps off the balcony and takes his own life. The next morning, Nilgen and his army of 1,000 men gather at the front gates of the capital. Teichi summons the wind spirit, Ariel, and causes a rift in front of Nilgen's army, making it hard for them to cross over. Nilgen brings his men together and unleashes magic fireball attacks towards the capital's soldiers. Lemia and the others wonder how Nilgen was able to find that many mages to do the spell. After careful investigation, she finds out Nilgen had crimson pact rings on his men and was now forcing them to attack them with magic spells. Lemia tells her peers that the kind of spells they keep throwing are too dangerous for anybody to use. To save the soldiers from certain death, Lemia and Rin prepare one final spell to protect Nilgen's men. Teichi and Ariel set up a barrier around them to buy them time for the spell. When the spell is complete, Rin and Lemia launch it and cause rain and thunder to strike Nilgen and his men. With his men down and nothing left to do, Nilgen falls on his knees in defeat. The boss comes by and ends Nilgen's life as his role is now over. After the first day in battle, Teichi and Rin return to the capital to live their normal lives. Rin gets to be the first face Teichi sees one morning. Upon waking up, Teichi embarrasses Rin by barfing and taking a bathroom break. After vomiting his intestines out, Teichi begins apologizing to Rin for barfing after seeing her that day. He asks her for some stomach medicine and Rin tells him he's getting what he asked for after eating his entire body weight the night before. Lemia and Muller inform them they've been summoned by the king. On getting to the palace, King Gilmore presents brand new weapons to Lemia and the team to fight his brother with. Of course, the weapons are made with materials of the finest quality and rarity. Lemia and her team check out the entire stash and choose the ones they love. Teichi chooses a katana and gets to the military training grounds with the others. There, he meets Sumela, who's been waiting to help them test the new weapons. She lunges towards an unprepared Teichi and pins him to the ground. Teichi begs for mercy as the scene goes to an end. After his training session with Sumela, Teichi goes to town to get some refreshments. Some of the villagers recognize Teichi as the magician who protected the capital from Nilgen and his army the previous day. Teichi gets to be a celebrity magician as he tends to kids and receives some street love from the adults. He thanks them for the kind treatment and gets to a secluded part of the capital. There he finds Kasim with only one hand. Apparently, Teichi was completely unaware that his attack on Kasim with the wind spirit had destroyed one of his hands. Kasim lets Teichi know he truly resents him and would come at nothing to destroy him. He takes Teichi to a deserted part of town and challenges him to a fight. However, Teichi would have to allow Kasim to limit his magic powers so they can fight at the same level. Teichi agrees to this, so Kasim takes out a crimson vial and uses it to take a portion of Teichi's magic. Now that they're at the same level, the fight begins. Teichi tries baiting Kasim into falling into his trap. Kasim, however, sees through this and avoids the trap. The fight goes on and on for a few minutes with Ariel looking out for Teichi. At one point, Kasim conjures and grows a ball of light and directs it at Teichi. Teichi remembers his lessons and infuses his sword with wind magic, which causes it to slash the ball of light. Kasim admits defeat and tells Teichi how to get his power back. To get his power back, Teichi would have to break the crimson vial Kasim placed his magic inside. There was just one single problem. Turns out the dark magic inside the vial is already mixed with Teichi's magic. A dark force seeps out of the bottle and attacks Teichi and Grammy, who showed up not too long ago. Teichi compresses the surrounding air and creates lightning on his sword. Then he uses the lightning to finish off the force in one strike. That evening, Kasim finally accepts Teichi's power and follows Grammy to their base. At that moment, the town's bell rings and Teichi finds out Dort's rebel army had declared war on King Gilmore. That night, a strange woman has a controversial discussion with another dude about the happenings of King Gilmore's kingdom. She gives him the power to do whatever he wants to do as long as it aligns with her interests. In the next scene, Teichi and Rin encourage each other to fight to their heart's content in their next big fight. The rebel war begins the following day with Dort's army laying in wait at the gates of the capital. Dort and his right-hand man, Inimicus, discuss the chances of them winning the war. Inimicus tells his boss that he's made sure to do everything necessary to turn the odds of the war in their favor. Dort thanks him for being such a good right-hand man and raises his sword. Meanwhile, King Gilmore rallies every soldier in his military and riles up their spirits to prepare them for a fight. He delivers an invigorating speech to his men and lets out a battle cry for the battle to begin. The mages of the kingdom, Rin, Lemia, Muller, Teichi, and a few others, all join the fight and use their magic powers to take down all enemies in their sights. Teichi makes a jump into the enemy camp to strike them where it hurts. Elsewhere, the strange woman is seen talking with the same weird man as earlier to hear updates about the war between the brothers. Rin meets her match, another adventurer named Suzura, on the battlefield and gets into a fight with her. Muller, on the other hand, gets to fight a spoiled brat who has no regard for human life. Lemia uses some of her powerful magic spells to take down the men. This keeps on until a mage named Miss Folos negates her spells with jamming magic. The soldiers fighting Lemia scram for dear life as the two great mages prepare to face each other. Not too far away from the battleground, Teichi locates Dort's tent and infiltrates it. He introduces himself to the man and tells him he's there for diplomatic reasons. Dort accepts his invitation and hears what Teichi has to say. Teichi tells him he's there to give him a chance to surrender himself to the real king before it's too late. Dort stays silent and watches the young man talk about values and being a good person. In the meantime, Inimicus sneakishly passes out his dark magic through the ground and infuses it in the bodies of the dead soldiers outside, turning them into zombies. After a few minutes of fighting, Lemia finally finishes Miss Folos. Muller notices Lemia's inferno spell blast from a few meters away and wonders what had happened there. Her opponent, the spoiled brat, mutters some disrespectful things again and annoys her. She draws out her sword and ends his life in one strike. After hearing all Teichi has to say, Dort refuses to surrender to his brother. He then asks Teichi why he chooses to be ruled under a king despite having the power to take down the nation and make it his own. Again, Teichi begins his speech about values and being a better person. Dort stops him midway and tells him his own values about taking things by force and being a dictator. At that time, Inimicus was already done turning the soldiers outside into zombies. Rin and Suzura keep up their fighting with both sides taking serious hits. Suddenly, dead soldiers rise up around them and force Rin and Suzura to consider fighting together. Still in his tent, Dort cannot believe Inimicus' betrayal. Inimicus tells him he serves no one but the supreme being who rules the world. Just then, it's revealed that the supreme ruler Inimicus was talking about is the strange woman from earlier. Inimicus manages to revive all dead soldiers to become zombie berserkers. He sends them to fight the soldiers of Gilmore and Dort as he himself begins filling up with power. Lemia tells Muller a story about the worst war in the history of mankind. This war, which employed the use of zombie warriors or berserkers, was so bad that the undead warriors killed their own soldiers and civilians after wiping out the enemy. The total amount of casualties recorded in that war reached as high as 700,000. Seeing the same weapon being summoned and used by Inimicus would only mean Gilmore's kingdom needs a true savior to prevent total annihilation of the kingdom. Lemia tells Muller they need to find the source of the spell and crush it to defeat the entire army all at once. Suzura charges at the enemies first and slashes them. However, the zombies keep getting back up and coming to life. Rin joins her and asks her to work for her after the fight. Suzura accepts her requests and works with her. Teichi faces the zombie army and keeps cutting them up, all to no avail. Dort finally figures out that his path is the wrong one. In trying to save the nation, he only ended up playing into Inimicus' hands and sent the whole nation into ruins. Teichi hears his regret and tries to do something about it. He tries to merge with Ariel and destroy the zombies in one single strike, while the others keep the zombie army at bay. When he's finally done amassing enough power to destroy the army, Ariel steps in and tells him the truth. It turns out the wind spirit, Ariel, hadn't shown her true self to Teichi. She only showed about half of her true self to Teichi out of her distrust towards him. Now that she's seen his resolve, she decides to reveal her true self to him. After apologizing for misguiding him, Ariel disappears and waits for Teichi to summon her in her true form. Rin arrives to check on Teichi and reassures him she's on his side no matter what. Teichi hugs her and summons the wind elemental, Sylphid, in a golden circle above the entire army of the zombies. Lemia and the others get to witness a true spirit summoned by the true summoner, Teichi. The golden spell circle disintegrates into little flakes of gold dust. This dust falls on the zombie soldiers and turns them back to their normal selves. Teichi gets to meet with the true wind spirit, Sylphid. Inimicus, on the other hand, finishes absorbing all the power he needs to transform into a purple monster. He flies out of the tent he was in and challenges Taichi to a fight with him. Before they fight, Inimicus tells Taichi the true reason why he was summoned to the other world. So Taichi has always been able to see spirits at birth. He was selected to be the trump card of the Lady Supreme Being to help prevent a great battle in the future, so she can emerge as the true savior of Altia, which is the world they currently live in. Taichi stops Inimicus from his speech and begins fighting with him. He pummels Inimicus to the ground with all his strength. Taichi decides to abandon his humanhood and become one with the spirit. He forges a powerful wind spell and turns Inimicus to dust. From then on, the war is over. Taichi wakes up to see his friends Lemia, Muller, and Rin, all glad to see him awake. The princess also rushes into the house and congratulates Taichi from being the hero of the royal capital. Days after Taichi wakes up, he and his team get promoted to the highest adventurers in the capital. Dort also gets captured and executed. After getting his promotion, Taichi takes a break on a balcony to reflect on the short time he spent in Altia. Lemia joins him and lectures him on some of the perks that make a human, before urging them to join them on their journey back to Aspire. In the final scenes of the series, Taichi and his team say goodbye to the princess of the capital as they embark on their journey back home to Aspire. As they travel back home, Taichi keeps thinking about the supreme being Inimicus blabbed about. He wonders what her next move could be and promises to always be there to stop her plans.